Hey you, and welcome to episode 1 of Let's Play Kerbal Space Program. My name is Satchmo, thank you so much for being here. I'll talk more about this series and kind of give an introduction as we go, but I want to just jump right in and start. A lot of people don't want to watch the intro anyway, so let's just skip all that. We're going to go start new. I'm going to name it Let's Play. I already had this set up. I'm going to name it LP for Let's Play. We're going to select Career Mode, which I think is kind of funny. That's the third option down, but it doesn't matter. This is the standard option for the game. I'm going to set my flag to this guy right here. It doesn't matter which one you pick, obviously, but I kind of like this guy. I think he looks kind of neat. And I guess, we'll do difficulty options of normal. I'm not going to change anything. And it says in career mode, you have to manage all aspects of your space program. Funds, reputation, and science are all active. Contracts are available at mission control. Very cool. Let's go. I was kind of debating on at what level to do this playthrough. In terms of, like, should I do it for beginners? Should I do it for advanced? Should I do it, I don't know, for my own level? But I think I'm going to do it what I'm going to call beginner friendly. I'm going to explain a lot of what I'm doing, but maybe not every single thing. So hopefully, because I think most people who are going to watch this have already played the game, so I don't want to bore those people. Anyway, we load in and we get Gene Kerrmann here, who says, "Nice to meet you, Gene Kerrmann, flight director and your guide for this quick introduction. This is the Space Center. From here you can manage all aspects of the space program." And then he gives you some control text there. Anyway, we are on the planet Kerbal. Our little green guys are called Kerbals. And this is Kerbal. Nice little mountain range behind us. Nice little area for us to do all of our rocketry. And of course, the Space Center. So very, very cool. We have a launch pad. We have a runway strip, because we can also do aircraft as well. I'm not going to give the full tour of the complex, because we will see more of this kind of as we go. So let's jump right in and go to the Mission Control Center. This is where you get your missions. And to start off with, you always have the same 4 missions. So we're going to select the first 2. And let's read a little bit about them. We have one that says Gather Scientific Data from Kerbal. And you can read a lot more about that. We're going to see that we get some funds once we complete it, some science, and some reputation. Reputation is how, the more reputation you have, the different contracts you get, the better contracts you get, essentially. So you want a good reputation. This is true of real life too. I guess SpaceX is a good example of that. As SpaceX continues to break new milestones and do more things, they get more and more contracts. So anyway, the next one is to launch our first vessel, and that's all you have to do. So we're going to go to the VAB, the Vehicle Assembly Building. And we're going to be met by Werner von Kerrmann, who says, "Hello, I'm Werner von Kerrmann, Chief Rocketry Engineer. This is," look at his eyes. "This is the Vehicle Assembly Building, where we build spacecraft and later roll them out to the launch pad for flight. Pretty impressive, isn't it? I'm very impressed. On your left, you'll find components to construct your own spacecraft. Select a starting part, then attach others to build a ship. Da-da-da-da." Very, very cool. So again, I'm not trying to not make it too basic. We're just going to jump in and make a command pod, where a crew member will sit and we can control the ship. We will put the only engine that we have on the bottom. We will go to the utility tab, grab a parachute for the top so that we can come down safely. And to complete our mission, we're going to do, there we go, a couple of mystery goo containment units. This is the only experiment that we have, off-board experiment that we have to collect science. So we will put a couple of those on there, one for when we're landed and one for when we're flying. We'll talk more about that, I guess, in the future. And the last thing we'll do is we'll check our staging, and we will see that the booster needs to go on the first stage, and then the parachute needs to go on the last stage. The other way around would not be good. So let's go ahead and title our spacecraft as well. Not because we're ever going to fly this again, but because I want to see the progress as we go on through the game. So we'll call this Hopper Mark 1, kind of in honor of the SpaceX Hopper test that they're doing. And we will launch it. So this is going to satisfy both of those requirements, right? The rocket's going to satisfy the launch, the vessel requirement, and the mystery goo is going to satisfy the collect science requirement. Having said that, there's also a couple other experiments that you can do that come native to the Kerbals. One is a crew report. So we can get 1.5 science right here from keeping this experiment. And then also, if you EVA, you click on his little portrait over there, you can EVA, and you can do an EVA report, which is different. So it's the one from inside the capsule and one from outside the capsule. You get 2.4 science for doing EVA. Press B to hop back in. Let's go ahead and grab both of these. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I'll just go ahead and pin these over here. The bottom one is observation from the launch pad, so we'll keep that. And then once I fly, I'll click the other one. I'll press spacebar to launch. Observe this mystery goo. Very cool. So now we have a goo sample of us flying. And then there we are, launched way up high into space. Excuse me. Not into space, I'm sorry. Excuse me again. Not into space, but into the air. You press the greater than and less than buttons to control your time warp, so you can move through time a little bit more quickly. Because a lot of things in the game take quite a long time if you just let them go kind of at the normal pace. So, I'm going to go ahead and time warp down. Something I'm into, and something you can absolutely do in your playthrough, is, it looks pretty scary, but he will, there we go. So the parachute will open and he will flip over on a small craft like this. Something you can do is that you can reduce the amount of solid fuel that you start with, so he doesn't go up quite as high, and you can make this first mission go a little bit more quickly, if you're interested in that. Something else you can do, that just wasn't important at the time, is you can press T to activate stability assist, if you have a pilot with you. And saw how he was rotating, now he's no longer rotating. If you have stability assist on, the pilot will kind of hold whatever heading you have. He'll hold whatever control you've imparted on here, to the best of his ability. It's not always possible, because otherwise you use WASD to pitch and roll and stuff, which you can see over here moving around as I press those buttons. Anyway, there we go. We have completed our first mission. We're going to recover the vessel. Very, very, very cool. And we'll get like a little mission briefing at the end here, summary. So here's all the science that we gathered for a total of 29 science, or 29.9 if you're more accurate, I guess, up here. Here's all the parts that we recovered. We covered a 97.9% value. If I would have landed at the launch pad or a little bit near, I would have got a little bit more funds from it, but that's not imperative. And last we have a little crew report here, right? Jebediah went on the mission. He gained 1 experience from the things that he did on that mission, namely launching a craft. And he's still a level 0, but he will eventually level up. And these are his levels right here. Let's talk very briefly about the astronauts. If you go to the astronaut complex, there are more astronauts that you can buy in the future to replace the ones that... to provide them with friends, not to replace their dead bodies. You'll see that these are the ones you start with, right? These are the orange suits. You have Jebediah, Bill, Bob, and Valentina, who are named after real-life scientists in some cases, so that's pretty cool, or astronauts in some cases. You have 3 different types. You have a pilot, of which Jebediah is one, and Valentina is one. These people help you steer the ship a little bit better, so they have stability controls, and they can target maneuver nodes for you, and things like that. The engineer can make your stuff more efficient, experiments that you're doing more efficient, and mining drills and so on, and can repair things if it's possible. And then the scientist can reset experiments and can run science labs. So ultimately, the engineers and the scientists actually become the most important type of crew member, because as you get better at piloting the ship, you need these guys less. But it's still important to have all of them, so just something to keep in mind. Right, now we have 29.9 science. We're going to go back to mission control, and we're going to see that we have a whole lot of missions that are now available to us. These first handful are conduct focused observational surveys. We're going to leave those alone for a while because they're a little bit more difficult from the beginning, so we're going to leave those alone. Anything that says at the launch site or splashdown is a really good early mission, so we're going to grab both of these, and that one and that one. I have active contracts too. I have 2 active contracts is what I meant to say. I just read it normally and it messed me up. And then, but I also have a max of 2. You're going to be able to upgrade your buildings as time goes on and you get more money. And that's going to allow you to do more active contracts. But for now, I can only accept 2. So there you go. So the first one is to test the RT-10 Hammer solid fuel booster. I always have a hard time saying fuel booster. I always want to say fuel booster. At Kerbal and at the launch site, that's easy to do. And the next one is to test the TD-12 decoupler splashdown at Kerbal. So you have to be in water to achieve that mission. So let's redesign our hopper to be able to do that. You throw things over here in this panel to delete them. I need the hammer and I need the decoupler. So you go down to coupling, I can put the decoupler on. And you go to engines to put the hammer on. Okay. I'll reduce maybe half the fuel. It's kind of hard to say for this mission. Something else I'm going to do is I'm going to put on some fins. This is going to help you be a little bit more aerodynamic and give you a little bit more control as you're flying through the air. And the rest of it we're going to leave the same. I'm going to leave both the mystery goo containments on, and of course the parachute. And I'm going to check my staging. That's going to go off. And I've spotted a flaw. I need to test this while splash down, but of course I need the parachute to actually splash down. So I'm going to grab this tab and move it down below this one. So the booster is going to go off, and then I'm going to safely land in the water, and then I'm going to test the decoupler. Okay, that's working fine. Something else we can do? We don't have to do this, but we can take the pilot out and we can put Valentina in, so we can give Valentina a little bit of experience. Alright, so this is the Hopper Mark II. Save and fly. Now you're not going to have a whole lot of control authority with these early missions, so you'll see what I mean when I start launching. I'm going to press T to activate stability so she can help me keep the thing straight, and press spacebar to launch. I'm going to press D to kind of roll over and try to point towards that ocean. If you look over here, my yaw is all the way to the right, so I'm pushing as hard as I can to the right to tilt this thing over, and this is all the control authority I have. So it's not going completely sideways at all, it's just kind of going at this 20-degree angle perhaps. But it is enough. You see I am over the water, so it's plenty enough of a trajectory to actually get me to splash down. And that was only half the fuel in this ship. I probably could have done a little bit less, but that's okay. I can go ahead and activate the parachute from up here as well, and time warp so we can fall down. A couple important things here. Oh well, the first thing is this mission completed as soon as I tested the hammer at the site, so that's cool. Go ahead and turn off stability so I can just fall naturally. So yeah, that happened. The second thing is some of these have notes, which are important. So this one says to perform the test, activate the part through the oops. This is an important thing to note as well. You can go back to revert flight and go back to the launch site or vehicle assembly if you haven't saved the game. Here is something to consider. There we go. I'll put another decoupler on here, and you'll see why in a second. Save that. Overwrite that. And go. Yeah, so I made a bit of a mistake here. This parachute at the speed that I'm going is not enough. It's not strong enough to support the weight of all this as it's coming back down. So something I just didn't think about. So I'm gonna put another decoupler on here. So once I get up in the air, I can decouple this bottom part off, and then this will be a lot lighter, and I can fall down safely. So let's go ahead and launch. Quickly roll over. And then I can go ahead and decouple. Now this little craft here is very, very light, so he's not going to have the, he's going to go very slow. This craft is going to go very slow on the way down. Something that just kind of happens. Oops. Sorry, I pressed the button while I was flying. You do have a little bit of control authority to point your ship against the way that you're traveling, which is called retrograde. If you want to put the if you want to put the blunt side of your ship towards the path that you're traveling, turn on stability. And that'll help you slow down even more. If I were to turn my craft around, then the pointy end would be going forward, and which is actually part of what happened there. And you're more aerodynamic, so you'll go faster. So anyway, I'll explain more about that in the future. This is going to be a safe recovery now. This is what I was saying. It says activate the part through the staging sequence when all test conditions are met. Some parts you can just click on. Let's see if this one will allow me to. Yeah, some parts you can click on, and then right here there'll be a run test option, and you're allowed to just run the test that way. And some of them have to be done through the staging sequence, okay? Which is to say, like, you have to put it on its own stage, and then you have to actually press spacebar to complete that mission requirement. So pay attention when you're doing yours to how you actually do this. Alright, very cool. Now that we're here, we're in a different condition, so we can do more mystery do experiments. I can do a crew report. I can do an EVA report. Very cool. And then I can press spacebar. There we go. And that should have completed this requirement. There we go. I have this one with me. I may as well do it. You get a little bit of extra science from it, I think. Because I do 2 of them, I think that's going to give me a little extra science. I don't remember actually. Let's see. There we go, yeah. The first one gave me the 4 science, and the second gave me 0.9. So you get a little extra if you bring 2 experiments with you. So for 11 science total, and then the parts, and then the she got some experience too. Very cool. So made a little bit of a mistake there. I was talking instead of paying attention to my descent, but that's okay. Very cool. Let's go back to mission control and see what else we have going on here. So again, the focused observational surveys we're going to skip for a while. Here's a haul mission. This means you just have to have it on your craft with you while you're under these conditions. So I need to be at Kerbal, flying between 46 and 51,000 meters, and between 100 and 290 meters a second. So it's kind of a specific condition that you have to meet. And if you have that the booster on your ship under those conditions, then you win. So, a little tough. They can be. These are better once you get liquid fuel, and we'll see that in a minute. Here's the another one of those. Same thing with a decoupler. And here's one that says escape the atmosphere. We're actually going to do this one. Yeah, we're just going to do this one, and that's all we're going to do right now. Let's go ahead and go to R&D. Actually, it's right here. This is the R&D. This is your tech tree. I've been avoiding going here until we got a little bit of science. But these are all the things that you can unlock. And all of these different nodes have several different items that you can get underneath them to build more complicated and bigger and more better ships. So the first 2 that we're going to grab both of them. Basic Rocketry and Engineering 101. Engineering 101 is going to give me a couple of antennae, a thermometer, which is going to give us more science that we can do, a decoupler, which is super important for this mission, and then liquid fuel tank, another booster, and a swivel liquid fuel engine. So the liquid fuel engine and liquid fuel tank go together. Okay. Alright, so this is now going to be Hopper Mark III. You can add a description if you want to. We're going to escape the atmosphere with this one. So to escape the atmosphere, you need about 1,600 meters per second of delta V. So this is a good time for me to explain that. Delta V is essentially, it's change in velocity, right? Delta V. It's essentially how far you can go. It's obviously way more complicated than that, but essentially how far can you go? So it's the budget of the things that your craft can accomplish. Okay, so to get into the atmosphere, I need 1,600 delta V. That can either be on a big giant rocket ship or it can be on a very small rocket ship. It doesn't really matter. It's just how much delta V do you actually have. So we're going to do this. Let's do it with the liquid fuel. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is, this is what I want to actually bring back with me. I want to bring back this command pod with a couple of mystery goo experiments and also a couple of thermometers as well. So put thermometers on the side as well. This is how I typically design my things, right? Top down. What do I want to come home? Okay, so I want that to come home. So I need a decoupler, which is going to separate everything else below it. And what's going to be below it? But a bunch of fuel tanks. I'm pressing Alt there to click on something and copy it. And then under the fuel tanks is the liquid fuel engine. So if you right click on here, it says the engine, the propellants are liquid fuel and oxidizer. And if you look at this tank, it has liquid fuel and oxidizer. So make sure that you're matching up the appropriate fuel type with the appropriate fuel consuming engine. So with these 4 tanks and with this engine, I can get 1307 meters a second, which is 300 meters a second shy of 1600, which I mentioned is how much I need to escape the atmosphere. So let's add some more fuel. And see, I have 1714. So this is enough to get me out of the atmosphere. Put a couple fins on it. And there we go. Now that's actually going to change your delta V a little bit because now the rocket is heavier, but that's okay. And then let's do a little bit of sanity check. We have the engine, we have the fuel, we have aerodynamics, we have a decoupler, and then we have the thing that's actually going to come back and land. Beautiful. We've named it. Our staging, rocket, decoupler, parachute. Looks good to me. Let's go ahead and launch it. And we are going to send... Oh, I didn't see who we're sending up. It could be Valentina, it could be Jeb. Valentina. We're going to send Valentina to space. She's going to be the first Kerbal in space. Something I haven't mentioned before is you have a throttle thing here. The throttle wasn't important on the solid fuel booster. I told you I couldn't say that. The solid fuel boosters, because they just go at one speed. They go all the way on until they're out of fuel, and then that's that. You can't shut them off. You can't throttle them at all. But liquid fuel, you can. So I'm pressing Z to bring the throttle all the way up. You press X to kill the throttle. Those are your two 100%, 0% buttons. But also you can do Control and Shift if you look down here. Control and Shift to have a little bit more granularity to it. So anyway, throttle up, turn stability on, and let's go. So all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go straight up. I'm not trying to go anywhere in particular. I'm just trying to go breach the edge of the atmosphere. So while she's flying, let me take a quick sip of my tea. You can see the aerodynamic forces acting on my ship. Nice little contrail. Very cool. Now you see as I'm passing all those molecules of atmosphere, it's starting to heat up my ship. It's okay. It's not going to be a big deal in our case. She is going quite fast though. This is a little bit more than you need, but I tend to over budget things, and that's okay. So anyway, now that we're going up, I can press M to bring me to kind of the tracking mode, and I can see that my Apple Apps, which is the highest point, is at 158. It's actually way too much delta V. I brought way more than I needed. I'm wondering if I wrote down the wrong number earlier. It doesn't matter. She will definitely be out of the atmosphere. That's okay. So very cool. I can go ahead and decouple. I don't need this anymore. It's empty. And then there we are. We passed 70,000 meters, which is the Kerbal Kármán line, right? That's the edge of space, according to the Kerbals. So now that we're in space, we can do a crew report. Very cool. I can't do an EVA because it says you cannot disembark while off a Kerbal surface's astronaut complex upgrade. So if you upgrade your astronaut complex, you can send her on an EVA in space, which is very cool. But I can do some mystery goo, which you get 10 science for now. And I can do a thermometer reading, which you get 8 science for. Very cool. And then we're just going to warp through our little space excursion and then come straight back down. There we go. And again, we're going to come down kind of blunt in first through the atmosphere. This is a really small craft, so she should be able to slow down. She should be able to slow down. There she goes. If you are a bigger and heavier craft, you will not be able to slow down on this kind of ballistic trajectory. You will need to have more of a shallow trajectory. We'll definitely see more of that in the future. Let's see if we are in a different biome. I'm not, but I can go ahead and grab this anyway. And I can go ahead and grab a thermometer scan while flying over Kerbin's grasslands. Very cool. And I'll be able to do an EVA when I land, because I will be in a different biome as well. So here's a good time to talk about our first mod. I have a mod right here called Science, or I think it's what's called X Science. And this will give you, let's go ahead and do the maximum version of it. There it is, X Science. Let's land. I try to take time warp off when I'm landing, because sometimes the game will kill you. But anyway, the 4 different settings here. One will it says show experiments available right now. This one's show experiments available on the vessel. This would include like anywhere you can go, so long as you have the things on the vessel to do that with. Show all unlocked experiments, which is even if they're not on the vessel, the experiments, but if you have them unlocked, it'll give you all of those, a list of all those places you can go, and then show all experiments either way. The one that I use is the available right now, and this tells me that I could do a crew report while landed at Kerbal Grasslands, which I haven't done, an EVA report, a temperature scan, and a mystery goo, and this would give me this much science. So a compact window. And tuck it up here. I will be using this throughout the playthrough to kind of maximize the science that we're getting. I didn't do it here. I didn't use it here, so a lot of these I can't do because I've already wasted I've already used the experiment, you see. But I can do an EVA because I'm not flying, so let's do an EVA report. Very cool. Hop back in. Let's all give Valentina a round of applause for going to space. Very good. Yay, Valentina. 40 science from that mission. So going to space is a very cool thing to do to these Kerbins. If you click on the little thing down here, it'll tell you I have all these contract parameters that I've done. I haven't been clearing all my messages, but you also have the world's first milestones. Sometimes you'll complete things, and they'll give you a little bit of money, and they'll give you some science and some reputation just for doing them. So they give me a little bit for breaking a speed record of 250 meters a second. So very cool. You can go back and look through all these if you like. Delete all of them. There we go. Now we've gone to space, people are going to be a lot more interested in our space program, and they're going to have more missions for us. Again, we have some survey missions. We have a couple haul missions. Here's one, it's a radial decoupler splashdown. Those are pretty easy to do, so let's go ahead and take that one. And we'll leave that for now. We'll do this mission. And then maybe that'll be it for this episode, we'll see. So let's go ahead and open up. Hopper Mark II is the one that splashed down, so we'll load him up, and we'll do a variant on him. There we go. Now the item that I need for this one was not that decoupler I just took off, but instead is the TT38K radial decoupler. So come down to coupling, and here it is, the TT38K radial. You can kind of just put him anywhere, put him on the back. Right? Check our staging. The booster goes off first, then it separates away, and then the decoupler. Oops, sorry. Oh my god, stop it. There we go. Booster, decoupler, parachute. The actual test thing that we need. Very cool. About half of the fuel, that's right. Let's go ahead and launch this vehicle. Now I don't know if it's going to make any difference. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's go back to VAB. Now that I'm thinking about it, let's go ahead and put our thermometers on there as well, so we can be getting more science. And then now I will click on my science mod, and There we go. Temperature scan while landed at Kerbin's launch pad. I don't have any for that, so I can go ahead and grab one of these. There we go. This will just kind of help me see that I've or haven't done something. Nope. You can see another temperature scan, an EVA report, and a crew report. So let's do the crew report. And a temperature scan. There we go. Again, I can't do the EVA report while flying. Not that I would want to right now anyway, because it's kind of dangerous. Decouple. There we go. Another crew report is available now because I'm flying low over Kerbin's water. An EVA report is available and a temperature scan, but unfortunately I've used both my thermometers, so I can't actually do those temperature scans. So that's unfortunate. Alright, I'm over the water. I can go ahead and launch my parachute and fly back down. So a lot of the things... Turn off stability. A lot of things in the game are going to take a long time, and a time warp does help with a lot of them, but it still takes a long time sometimes to do, like real life time. It can take a little while. So I don't like doing voiceovers. I like doing the commentary as I'm playing the game, but it might be necessary for certain missions, I think, to just do the mission and then be able to kind of edit out the repetitive parts. So I'm kind of debating on how to do that. If you guys want to see everything, and don't like voiceovers or whatever else, that's totally fine. I can understand that. Otherwise, I don't know. We'll see. Just give me some feedback on that. Tell me what you think. I used both of those. Do I have a... Oh, I just did my crew report. And I did an EVA report. Okay, so we're good. So here we are. I'm at Kerbin. I'm splashed down. The next thing up is the radio decoupler. So... boom, pop that off, and then complete that mission. Recover the vessel. And go back to base. Very cool. There we go. 11 more science. I got 103 science now. A whole bunch of funds, over 250,000 funds. And unfortunately, oh, Jeb's back. He's ready for his next assignment. So, what is his next assignment going to be? Let's see. We might do some of these test missions. We'll do a couple of these test missions, and I think we'll do orbit next episode. We'll look at doing some orbital mechanics. But right now we're 32 minutes into the episode. I think 30 minutes is probably about right for these episodes. I don't want to go too much longer, too much shorter. I think it's probably good. So this is a good place to leave off. We've seen kind of the basics of how to fly, how to accept missions, and kind of what to do. Got 100 science. That's very cool. I could be spending a lot of that because these only cost 18, so I could be moving along the tech tree, but I want to unlock them kind of as I need them, so I don't want to just buy things willy-nilly. We'll see more about that in the future. I think the goal for this Let's Play will be 1, to complete this tech tree, so I will get enough science to complete all of these things, and 2, to visit all of the major celestial bodies. So you see, this is Kerbin. I should have mentioned this earlier, I didn't. This is Kerbin. This is where we are. We have the moon, or mun, but I'm gonna call it moon. Sometimes it's represented with umlauts, which would be kind of like moon. So anyway, the moon, and then the second moon of Kerbin, Minmus. And then as you go out, you see that we are not alone. We have several other bodies with us. We have Moho, Eve, Duna, Dres, Jewel, and Ilu. And on top of that, if you go to somewhere like Jewel, and then you zoom in, you'll see that they each have, now not all of them, but some of them have their own bodies, right? So this one has several moons: Lathe, Val, Tylo, Bop, and Paul. Paul, whatever. So yeah, I think we're going to set it as one of our missions in the game to explore, at least to some degree, whether that's landing on them or just flying by them, whatever else, but we're just going to explore the galaxy. We're going to see if we can go to all these different bodies and fill up our tech tree, and that to me would be a satisfying mission to do in the game. So that's what we have to look forward to. Again, I have a couple of mods installed. We'll talk more about those in the future, but not too many at all. There's nothing I'm going to be doing that you couldn't just do on your own. Absolutely not. So if you want to play along, please do. If you have any questions about anything at all, go ahead and ask me. Really looking forward to having some comments in the comment section. Looking forward to getting some feedback. So yeah, let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe if you are so inclined to do so. You certainly don't have to, but I hope you enjoyed this, and hope you come back for the next episode. So I'll see you then.